Welcome. Today is Thursday, February 16, 2023. This is a special select board meeting. We called the meeting to order outside at 5 o'clock. It is now after 5 o'clock. And we discussed the update for the purchase and sales agreement for the right-of-way. Gail, for the record, do you want to summarize where we are with that?
It's my understanding at the present time that the purchase and sales agreement is going to be dissolved. The attorneys have not yet figured that out, but the Strattons were not wanting to move the driveway, and the select board can't have it down where it was originally proposed because it's not safe. So we haven't figured out how to get out of it yet, but that's up for the attorneys to do.
So based on that, we talked about pursuing a walking right of way, and you want to share Michael Stratton's thoughts on that, Gail?
Michael Stratton, I talked to him on Monday and he was willing to discuss a walking right of way over his property. And we just went down and walked along the edge of the stone wall and down to where it meets up with the town's property.
We also walked an alternate potential right of way, which would be through the back corner of the Eaton's property, which is currently in probate, and sort of evaluated the two options. So for the record, is there anyone who would like to make a suggestion or a comment or give any feedback on what we learned during our walk?
This is Doug Fontaine, on the Conservation Commission. The walking right of way would be a much easier path across the Eaton property in terms of the grades and amount of obstacles. But honestly, the Conservation Commission would take whichever of the two right of way options we could acquire.
Any other feedback or comments? We did note that if we were to work with the Strattons, because of where the property lines are, the right of way would be pretty close to their house, approximately 100 feet. And there's a stone wall there that would be something we'd have to navigate. It's a little bit steeper using that route than if the Eaton option were to become available. I think what we learned was that do you want to speak to the Eaton perspective, Mr. Eaton?
Well, it may come to be available in a few months. It's just
Unknown.
unknown. We can't do anything with it right now.
Yeah. So based on that, would the select board like to take any action? I think we now have good information, and the full existing board and future board were all here, so that's great. Thank you, Judy. So it's possible, Gail had said executive session if needed to discuss real estate transaction. I don't believe we need to do that. Do either of you have any action you want to take?
No, I think we should just.
Yeah, I will say, Kevin, that just to remind you, if your property or your family's property becomes an option, then it'll be Judy and Meadow will be negotiating, and you will go sit on that side. You and Judy will change too. Yeah. I mean, and just to be clear, even if it's not you personally, because it's a direct relative,
Right.
you would step aside just for conflict. Okay, anything else on right of ways?
I have one question. So when the original right of way was discussed with the Strattons, there was also, they were interested in selling us the tiny little pie-shaped piece. What's happening with that, Gail, or we're not allowed to discuss that in public?
Well, if the purchase and sales agreement goes away, then that goes away too.
That goes away too.
And it is contingent upon the bank approving whatever they want to do for a right of way. I don't know that the bank would approve them getting rid of that little piece. I can't speak for the bank, but
Yeah.
Some banks would absolutely say no way, but because it's the Bank of Bennington, our attorney thought that we might get away with the right of way, down on the other end, and this little piece that the Strattons wanted to throw in. Doesn't mean that it couldn't be discussed, but that would be the other stumbling block if the Strattons agreed to sell it to us in the right of way, it would make, the right of way shorter, but it would still be contingent upon their bank releasing their mortgage on that property.
And does the bank also, do you think in your opinion, would the bank be opposed to having a walking right of way? Could they put the nix on that also?
They could,
Yeah,
it's contingent upon bank approval of releasing the mortgage on that piece of property, so. It's an unknown at this point. So you could go that, we could negotiate that and then we'll get to where the bank says, yea or nay.
Right.
And then you still have a fallback, but
Yeah, I think there potentially are some reasons, just in terms of potential future subdividing, if the Strattons ever wanted to do that, for them to keep that 0.43. So TBD, it doesn't sound like there are any decisions to be made now, though. We don't have any other business on here, but I did want to just share with you guys that I went to the sheriff's website and I printed the report. There you go. And last year we had 25 warnings, 13 fines, 2 arrests, and it says $4,200 in tickets, which really surprises me.
we did not get that. amount of
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, but anyway, that's what the report says.
where did that money go?
That's what the report says. And it was, Gail's directions worked perfectly. Should you want to use that? And, well, this is the short one, and the long one, which is every single day and everything he did, is actually pretty, I would encourage you to, if you have access to a computer, because you can't read it on the phone, no way,
Right.
go and download it. And I didn't print it because it was 25 pages, but what it shows is that Justin sits up here a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like he drives, I'm gonna call it the loop. So the loop would be, he's on the East Road a lot.
Mhm.
He's either driving Channel Road or he's driving this way. But I think it would really be, to an earlier conversation we had here at the board, I think for you to become more involved in guiding the select board's wishes, which what our previous conversation was, not having him sit here all the time.
Yeah, I talked to him about it the other
Yeah.
day. Gail.
Well, and I think you may be able to tell if you, save that
Right.
web link and you go in and you look, because he is tracking what he's doing. So you may have this if you would like. Our next item, if there's no other business, we do need to have an executive session, and I want to help you guys understand why we need to have an executive session for procuring, it's actually, I misspoke, it's design services, which includes engineering for the salt and sand shed. And the issue is that this is a federal grant, and we need to talk about a specific contractor. And if we talk about a specific contractor in public session, we will taint a potential bid process. And so we need to talk about it in executive session. And then if we make a decision, we will come out here, or we won't make a decision, but everyone will have the information to guide the decision that we need to make. Here's the decision that we need to make. We originally hired a contractor to do all the design work, the civil design work for salt and sand shed and the town garage. We have a contract for that. We procured that using our procurement procedure, which did not include public advertisement. We sent letters to 5 or 6 civil engineering firms as recommended by
Stan. I think there's like
Stan. Yeah. And that was how we did the procurement. Now that we're working off a federal grant, I said, well, we've already done most of the engineering. This is great. And it was, oh, no. And we had to go back and document everything we had done. And in order for that work to be counted, we have to prove that we followed federal procurement process, which we did not. We adopted a new process that was 2019. We adopted a new process since then, but we did not follow it. We did not follow the new one in 2019 because it wasn't our process. So we have 3 choices. One is to pay the contractor that we've already worked with outside of the grant to complete the civil engineering design. The other is to go out to a large procurement process that would be publicly advertised. And we could also specifically say to consultants we're particularly interested in working with, we could call them and say, please, will you bid? Here's our RFP. The third option is to use their at the ready engineering list, which is the transportation. And if you know more about this, please help us. The at the ready list is engineering firms that are pre-approved and you don't go out to bid. You basically look over their their abilities or previous projects they've done, and you said, I want that one, and then you work directly with them. I will point out that does violate our procurement procedure, so that's a little interesting thing. But that's really a decision that we need to make, and in order to do that, we need to go to executive session because we can't talk about specific contractors in a public meeting prior to the bid.
May I ask how
Yes.
much we would pay out if we paid the current contractor and then went a new route, or is that still not?
No, we were waiting for that. We were hoping to get that number last week. It's about $25,000. So the grant has a 50% match. So, I don't know. Let's just guess. Maybe the design work is $50,000. And if it's $50,000 and we start over, we pay half, $25,000, right? I think timing is going to be important. Like, who can start work on it? Like all contractors, including design professionals, are really backed up. And we won't know that until we choose a process and go down that path. So we do have a hired project manager at the Regional Planning Commission, Stephanie Bork, and she talked me through this. We have 3 criteria that are really important. One is availability, meaning they can actually take the work and do it in a reasonable time frame. The other is experience with fabric buildings, and on that at the ready list, this particular grant, which is the Transportation Alternatives Program, does very few salt and sand sheds. It appears as if 2 or 3 have actually been built under this program. So there isn't a big match between the firms that are on the list and our needs. However, they're very large firms, which may mean they go, oh, Tim, if they're too small, we don't want to work with them. I don't know. And the third, I left the piece of paper at home, of course, that had it. So it was timing and cost. So those are the sort of 3 criteria that we'll need to talk about in executive session. Then we'll let you know what we decide. So I heard that afterwards there was some chatter out here that people were like, I don't understand what. That's why we were going into executive session. And I'm sorry, turns out I had COVID and I was so freaking sick. So yeah, not on my best, but now you know everything that I can tell you. And I would like to make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss a contract for procuring engineering and design services for salt and sand shed.
Oh, second.
And I would like to invite into this meeting our, thank you guys, our design procurement committee. Is that what we are? Which is Kathy, Gail, and Eric. I'm looking at you. Is that what we called it?
It's not.
No, it's
Consulting.
consultant. Yeah. So we were required by our federal grant to name this committee, which consists of Eric, Gail, and myself. And so I'd like to invite Eric and Gail to join the select board to have this conversation, which might not take too long. You may do that if you would like to. That's probably a good idea.
You want to come in?
So moved, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Did you guys hear that? Aye, okay, thank you. And you're gonna stop the recording?
The recording is halted for the executive session.
Make a motion that we come out. Motion that we come out of executive session. Second it. I would like to make the motion that we have 3 options for how to procure design services, and I would like to make the motion that we go out to a competitive bid. That we go out to a competitive bid and that we not use that at the ready list.
I will second that motion.
Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any other discussion? Does anyone know, this is related, what the rules are about siting generators? Next to buildings? The reason I ask is that our quotes for generators, and we will have to do a federally approved procurement process for that. Have the generator for this building, like what he said was over at the creamery. Which, okay, I'm required, because this is a historic building, on the historic register to show exactly where we're gonna put the generator. Gail and I walked around today, and our thought is, you don't want it under an eave, so that makes the whole library section out. This, right now, the panel box is here and the meter's there. The panel box is moving to the other side.
Right,
So it may make sense to put it on, I'm gonna call it the back, the east side, which is not a gable end. And then the question would be where the propane tank is gonna sit. But with your approval, I'm gonna say that's what we're gonna do in this form I have to fill out, which is a 20-page EHP form, which is longer than the grant, by the way. They want me to show the area of disturbance and blah, blah, 4 sides of the building, aerial shot. I'm gonna say we're gonna put it on the east
Yeah.
side, and if we have to adjust after we go out to bid and we meet with contractors, then
We'll
do
From
that.
there, yeah.
We'll say, based
sounds
on new
fine.
information, we had to change our mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone have any other business?
And I will try to dig out the septic plans, so we know how far away from.
Oh,
everything
yes.
the
Oh,
trenches are.
right.
'Cause the septic-
That's where they go, yeah.
Right, the tank is out by the library porch. It goes down around the back there.
Mhm.
yeah, I'd like to know where it is too, in case I am able to get that lift in there. And there's no issue with the lift going in behind the, old creamery, there's nothing behind that, that's gonna be, okay, cool,
Underground, yeah, I don't think so.
alright. Sweet, make it a lot
Okay.
easier when I spray it.
If you would like to appoint me to carry on with these 2 grants, I'm happy to do that. This is your one-time offer. I may lose my enthusiasm as we move forward. But these are both initiatives I've started, and I'm happy to finish them.
That's great.
So you should make that motion.
Well, should we wait till the next select board?
Sure, you could, don't forget though.
I won't
This
forget.
is, so here's
I
how I
want you
do
to do
it.
this grant.
This is what you do. You say, Gail, could you please make sure it's on the agenda for the March meeting, which we may have actually already done.
Yeah.
Last week. So it's for the 2 grants, the salt and sand shed and the emergency generator
I have
grant.
a running file for March meeting.
Yes,
I can let stuff happen.
yes. Perfect. All right, ready to adjourn?
Yes,
Great, yes, make a motion that we adjourn.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Thank you all.
thank you.
Boots
Is
may be
the
needed, it
website on
says.
here that you want to-
No, Gail sent us an email. I could
Oh,
forward that
okay.
email to you if you want.
Yeah, just so I can